My fiancée secretly canceled our wedding because her parents said I wasn't good enough. The night before, her father looked me dead in the eyes and said, "You're just a teacher Emma deserves, someone with a future." I didn't argue. I just walked into the bank and withdrew every dollar I'd contributed. By morning, I had 19 missed calls and one message that read, "Please, I'm desperate, they won't help me." This has destroyed relationships, and I'm still getting threatening messages from her family. Emma and I had been together for 4 years, engaged for 8 months. We were planning what she called her dream wedding for this past October. The budget kept growing from $15,000 to $30,000 to finally settling at $45,000. I contributed $25,000 from my savings account that I'd been building since college. She put in $20,000. That came mostly from gifts from her wealthy parents. Her parents never liked me. I'm a high school teacher, she's in marketing, making twice my salary. They made it clear from day one that their daughter deserved someone who could provide better, but Emma always defended me, said she loved me for who I was, not my bank account. I actually believed her. The warning signs started appearing about 6 weeks before the wedding. Emma became secretive about wedding planning meetings. She'd go to appointments alone, claiming her mom wanted girl time to plan details. When I asked to see updates or discuss decisions, she'd brush me off saying everything was handled. I thought she was just stressed. Wedding planning can make people act weird, right? I was working overtime to cover honeymoon expenses, so I trusted her to handle the details we'd already discussed together. My hands were shaking every time I looked at our dwindling savings, but I figured it would all be worth it. 2 weeks before the wedding, Emma started acting really strange around money. She'd make comments about how expensive everything was getting, how her parents were concerned about our financial future. When I suggested we scale back some elements to stay in budget, she got defensive. She started asking weird questions about my retirement account, my teaching pension, whether I'd ever considered switching careers. I gave her the benefit of the doubt. Maybe wedding stress was making her think about our long-term security, but then she started bringing up her coworker, Derek, who had just gotten promoted to regional manager. How Derek was buying a house in the expensive part of town, how Derek took his girlfriend to Hawaii just because. The way she talked about Derek made my stomach turn, but I tried to be understanding. Maybe she was just nervous about our future together. I almost convinced myself this was normal, pre-wedding anxiety. The weekend before the wedding, Emma's behavior became clearly inappropriate. She started openly comparing our financial situation to her friends' relationships. Her college roommate married a lawyer. Her cousin married a doctor. Her sister was dating someone in finance. During dinner with my parents, she made a comment about how teachers don't really make enough to support a family properly. My mom looked mortified. My dad tried to change the subject. I felt completely humiliated, but I didn't want to cause drama so close to the wedding. That night, Emma told me her parents wanted to have a serious conversation about our finances before the ceremony. They were concerned about our debt-to-income ratio, whatever that meant. She said they'd hired a financial advisor to look at our situation. I was confused because we didn't have debt problems. My student loans were manageable, and Emma made good money, but she insisted this conversation was necessary for her peace of mind. Other people were starting to stare when we were out together because the tension was so obvious. 3 days before the wedding, Emma dropped a bombshell. Her parents had been researching teacher salaries and retirement benefits. They'd calculated that I would never be able to provide the lifestyle Emma deserved. They wanted us to sign a prenup that would protect Emma's future inheritance and earning potential. The prenup was 15 pages long. It basically said that anything Emma earned or inherited would remain completely separate, while anything I earned would be shared. If we divorced, I'd get nothing except my teacher's pension. Emma acted like this was totally reasonable, just smart financial planning. I couldn't believe they just did that 3 days before our wedding. Everyone was watching now, my family, her family, all our friends who had already traveled to town for the ceremony. The absolute audacity of springing legal documents on me at the last minute was breathtaking. When I said I needed time to review the prenup with a lawyer, Emma's father said there wasn't time. Either I signed it or the wedding would have to be postponed. Emma just stood there nodding along like this ultimatum made perfect sense. 2 days before the wedding, Emma's parents took their entitlement to a completely insane level. They arranged a meeting with Emma themselves and me at their country club. Richard and Patricia had prepared a full presentation about why our marriage was a financial mistake. They had spreadsheets. They had charts comparing teacher salaries to other professions. They had calculated the lifetime earning potential difference between me and what they called suitable partners for Emma. They'd even researched divorce statistics for marriages with significant income disparities. Do they think rules don't apply to them? This was completely insane behavior. They were treating my relationship like a business deal they needed to evaluate and potentially terminate. Emma sat there taking notes like, this was a reasonable way to handle things 2 days before our wedding. Richard explained that they'd identified several better matches for Emma within their social circle. Successful men who could provide appropriately, men with proper career trajectories and family backgrounds, men who understood that marriage was ultimately about building wealth and status. The meeting ended with them strongly suggesting that Emma reconsider the wedding. They offered to cover all cancellation costs if she came to her senses. Emma said she needed time to think about everything they'd presented. The day before our wedding, Emma crossed every line imaginable. She called me at 6 a.m. crying hysterically. She said she'd been up all night thinking about what her parents had said. She was scared about our financial future. She was worried about disappointing her family. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. She asked if I would consider not going through with the ceremony, not postponing, canceling entirely. She said her parents had offered to give her $50,000 to start fresh if she ended things with me. They actually went there. Her parents had literally offered to pay their daughter to dump me. The woman I'd been with for 4 years, who I thought loved me unconditionally, was asking if I'd be okay with her taking money to leave me at the altar. When I didn't respond immediately, she kept talking. She said, maybe we could stay together but not get married. Maybe we could work on improving our financial situation first. Maybe I could go back to school, get a better degree, find a more lucrative career. This crossed every line imaginable. She was asking me to completely change who I was because her parents had put a price on our relationship. Even enablers would be uncomfortable with this level of manipulation and financial blackmail. The morning of our wedding day, Emma did something so outrageous, it guaranteed her own destruction. She called me at 7 a.m. and said she couldn't go through with the ceremony. The wedding was off. She'd already started making calls to cancel everything. But here's the part that made me realize she'd literally just destroyed her own life. She'd been planning this for weeks. While I was working overtime to pay for our honeymoon, while I was excitedly preparing for our marriage, she'd been secretly coordinating with her parents to destroy our relationship. She'd already contacted every vendor, the venue, the caterer, the photographer, the florist, the band. She'd negotiated cancellation fees. She'd calculated exactly how much it would cost to bail on our wedding. She'd moved money from our joint account without telling me to start covering these costs. I watched her commit social suicide in real time. She admitted that her parents had been planning this intervention for months. They'd hired a private investigator to research my financial background. They'd consulted lawyers about the best way to break up our relationship without Emma facing social consequences. She literally just destroyed her own life. By revealing the depth of this deception, everyone would know that she'd strung me along for months while secretly planning to dump me. Everyone would know that her parents had paid her to leave me. Everyone would know that she'd stolen my money to pay for canceling our wedding. I felt completely calm for the first time in weeks. The anger just stopped. I was done. I realized I was finished protecting them from themselves. They just showed me exactly who they are. Instead of screaming or begging, I hung up the phone and drove straight to the bank. I withdrew every penny I had contributed to our joint wedding account, $25,000, my money that I had earned and saved and contributed in good faith to build our life together. I documented everything. Screenshots of the joint account showing my deposits over the past 8 months, copies of checks I'd written for wedding expenses, records of overtime hours I'd worked specifically to fund our wedding and honeymoon. Then I contacted every vendor myself. I explained that the wedding was canceled due to the bride's decision, and that I would not be responsible for any cancellation fees related to elements I had not personally contracted for. I made it clear that any services paid for with my contributions were no longer authorized. I let them show everyone exactly who they are. I removed myself from the situation and watched them self-destruct. I gave them exactly what they asked for, a clean break with no drama from me. Within hours, Emma was calling frantically. The cancellation fees were much higher than expected. The vendors wanted payment immediately, or they'd start legal proceedings. Her parents were furious that I withdrew my money because now they had to cover the full cost of their daughter's decision. Emma's complete meltdown started immediately. She showed up at my apartment that evening sobbing uncontrollably. She'd underestimated the cancellation costs by at least $15,000. Her parents were refusing to cover the difference because their accountant said it would create tax complications. She was facing immediate financial ruin. The venue was demanding $12,000 within 48 hours, or they'd sue. The caterer was keeping their full deposit of $8,000. The photographer wanted $4,000 in cancellation fees. The band was keeping their entire $10,000 payment. Emma had expected to use my $25,000 to cover most of these costs. When I withdrew my money, she suddenly owed over $30,000 with only her original $20,000 contribution available. Her parents were backtracking on their promise to cover everything. The community reaction was swift and brutal. Our friends started reaching out to me expressing shock and sympathy. Emma's own bridesmaids were horrified that she kept them in the dark about canceling the wedding. Her maid of honor publicly posted about the disappointment and wasted money on dresses and travel. Emma's reputation was obliterated overnight. Everyone knew she dumped her fiancé the morning of their wedding for money. Everyone knew her parents had bribed her to leave me. Everyone knew she'd tried to stick me with the bill for her decision. Update: Emma's desperate behavior has escalated to stalking levels. She's been calling me 15 times a day, showing up at my school and messaging every mutual friend we have, begging them to convince me to give her money. She's completely lost connection to reality. Her parents hired a lawyer to try to force me to pay the cancellation fees. They're claiming I'm partially responsible for the financial damages because I withdrew my money too quickly. The lawyer basically laughed them out of his office when he realized they wanted to sue me for taking my own money out of a joint account. The community has turned completely against Emma and her family. The story has spread through our social circle like wildfire. Her parents' country club friends are gossiping about how they tried to buy their daughter's way out of an engagement. Emma's co-workers know she dumped her fiancé for money on their wedding day. Emma lost her job last week. Her marketing firm decided that someone with such poor judgment and ethical standards wasn't a good fit for client relationships. Her reputation in the industry is destroyed because everyone knows she's the woman who took money to dump her fiancé. Her parents are facing their own consequences. Their church asked them to step down from leadership positions. Their social circle has distanced themselves from the family that would pay their daughter to humiliate someone publicly. Richard's business associates are questioning his character and integrity. People keep asking about the private investigator detail from my main story. It gets even worse. They'd been investigating me for 6 months, trying to find dirt that would justify their opposition to our relationship. They found nothing except that I'm exactly who I've always said I am, a dedicated teacher who lives within his means. Emma's psychological breakdown is intensifying. She's been posting on social media about how I ruined her life by being selfish with money. She's trying to paint herself as the victim of my financial abuse. Everyone can see through the manipulation because they know she dumped me for cash. The crazy isn't stopping. Will update if they dig themselves deeper. Final update: the long-term consequences have completely settled, and Emma's life is fundamentally changed. She's had to move back in with her parents because she can't afford rent without her job. Her credit is destroyed from defaulting on the wedding cancellation fees. Her professional reputation in marketing is finished because everyone knows the story. Emma's social life collapsed entirely. Her former friends won't associate with someone who would take money to humiliate their partner publicly. She's become known as the woman who prostituted her relationship for her parents' approval. Dating is impossible because any potential partner can easily find the story online. Her desperate attempts at apologies have failed completely. She wrote me a 15-page letter explaining that she was pressured by her parents and didn't want to hurt me. She offered to pay back the money she'd stolen if I would just talk to her. She begged mutual friends to arrange a meeting so she could explain herself. But everyone can see through the manipulation. She made calculated decisions for months. She researched cancellation fees before breaking up with me. She moved my money before even telling me the wedding was off. She coordinated with her parents to time everything perfectly to minimize their financial exposure. Her parents are dealing with their own permanent consequences. Richard's business has suffered because clients don't trust someone who would pay his daughter to publicly humiliate her fiancé. Patricia has been ostracized from her social groups for orchestrating such a cruel scheme. Their reputation in the community is permanently damaged. Emma's current status shows complete justice served. She's 32 years old living with her parents unemployed. and unable to date because everyone knows her story. She destroyed her career, her social life, and her reputation for $50,000 that she never even received because the cancellation fees ate up everything. What I learned about setting boundaries with nuclear precision is that sometimes the best response is no response. I didn't argue, didn't plead, didn't try to change their minds. I just stopped protecting them from the natural consequences of their choices. They wanted to treat our relationship like a business transaction, so I handled it like business. I'm thriving while they're still dealing with consequences. I'm dating someone wonderful who values character over bank account size. I'm respected at work and in my community for handling an impossible situation with dignity. I sleep well, knowing I never compromise my integrity or stoop to their level. To those saying I went too far, they literally did this to themselves. I just didn't stop them. Emma chose to secretly cancel our wedding. She chose to steal my money. She chose to coordinate with her parents to publicly humiliate me. She chose to prioritize money over our 4-year relationship. Thanks, Reddit. Sometimes letting entitled people destroy themselves is exactly what they need. Perfect justice served through their own choices. No revenge required.